Hey everybody, Tim Kawakami here from the home studio for the North and South Show. A little pre-July 4th show with my co-host, the Los Angeles Times Dylan Hernandez. Dylan, right in the middle of the NBA mayhem free agency trades. I guess we're at the late stage of it. Much of it has already happened. And we're staring at the Lakers and the Warriors, and they haven't done a lot. Maybe they've lost some things. I'm just looking at the Lakers just because I'm so focused on Warriors. I had to kind of like, have the Lakers do something that I missed here, brushing up for this show, and not really. They tried to get in on Klay Thompson, did not happen. He goes to the Clippers, possibly with the Lakers offering more money, which is very interesting. Other than that, I'm not sure what the Lakers. They drafted Dalton Connect, which is a really solid pick. Should fit, but other than that, well, they haven't done anything. Dylan, your thoughts on where the Lakers are right now?
Yeah, again, the fact that they offered, right, LeBron in theory was willing to take less money to get Klay Thompson, over to LA. Again, it just speaks to just where the Lakers are right now, right? And I kind of love this from like the Klay Thompson standpoint, right? I mean, on one hand, I kind of thought that this was like a good situation for Klay Thompson to come home to. It's coming home. His dad is obviously still in the market, working in radio. Obviously he's from here. If things don't go well, it's gonna kind of end up in some kind of JJ Redick, LeBron, Bronny thing where, I think he kind of stays out of the way of that mess a little bit. So you don't think, it's kind of thinking, I could see that happening. I think the Lakers were pretty optimistic, actually, if you had asked them, the night before of this happening. That said, I really do love this. Like Klay's kind of like, hey, you know what? You guys are done with me. I'm going to go out and win a championship somewhere else. And I love that, right? And I think that you kind of forget. I think when you're kind of too close to these things and you kind of start looking at the money, a lot of times it's just like how competitive these guys are. And so again, I love that move just because, it's like, okay, I'm going to get my next ring before you guys get your next one. And I love that part of it.
Luka, he picked Luka. It's hard to argue, right? The team that was in the NBA Finals, that has you can plug him right in there, shoot as a shooter next to Kyrie and Luka. All the shots that Tim Hardaway Jr. did not hit, or Josh Green did not hit, or whoever else. There were open shots in the finals, and I don't know that Klay makes all those, but you can see where that fit will be. And for less money, though, guys rarely take less money, Dylan. Now, it's unclear how the Lakers were going to offer him more money because they would have had to make a move to free up that money. It would have probably been moving D'Angelo Russell. I don't know where that would have all gone. I think Pat Beverly was like, hey, they're going to trade D'Lo back to the Warriors. No, that was not going to happen. The Warriors are not taking back D'Angelo Russell. I heard a few other formulations like that of old Warriors players that maybe they would want back, and they were all wrong. There's usually a reason why these guys are not on the Warriors anymore. Klay being different. They did want Klay back. They prioritized other things. It looks cold. It is a little bit cold given the 4 championships, but this was all going on during the season. Like here, Dylan, as somebody from the outside, did you go, wow, Klay Thompson, that would have been a huge ad for the Lakers? A guy who could have been a difference in a round or two in the playoffs, or were you a little differently valuing Klay?
Yeah, I mean, because you kind of don't know, right, where they are where he is defensively at this point in his career.
Well, I think you know.
Yeah, right. And
I think you do know.
Well, I mean, I guess looking at it from trying to be most optimistic, right, is can you slow down anybody? Because it's Austin Reeves at times the opposition has kind of exploited him. I think he's a good team defender. You get him isolated a little bit, it's kind of a problem, right? The kid they drafted, I don't think is known as a great defender by any means. LeBron's getting older, so that's a lot on Anthony Davis, right?
Yeah.
And so, I wasn't sure how that was going to fit. I guess. Certainly it's it feels like a Lakers thing to do, right? There's kind of this big shiny name out there. Let's go get him. I'm not so sure how, carefully they thought this through in terms of how this was actually going to work.
Well, here's how they thought it through. LeBron said, I will take less and free up this space if you sign one of these 3 guys. Reportedly, I believe it was Windhorst or an ESPN reporter. I don't want to make that clear. That said it was Jonas Valanciunas, who did not sign with them. Klay Thompson did not sign with them, and a third, I'm forgetting now, who someone else who did not sign with them. It's now the question is, does LeBron still do that. I guess it would be predicated on them getting somebody. DeMar DeRozan would be the name out there, and DeMar DeRozan actually fits with them. Some of the same defensive issues, but like he can get into. He's mid-range guys. I love mid-range guys. I know they're not cool in the NBA analytics world these days. I still think getting those tough twos is a really important thing. He's older, like Klay, so about the same age as Klay. But I do like DeRozan in a similar way. I do think Klay picked the right spot, though. I think Dallas is just go hit 2 fourth quarter threes in a tough game. He can still do that. Like Klay can still hit threes. He's not going to hit them as many as he did. It's going to be a little tougher for him to get those shots. But when he's open, if you can find a spot where he's going to be open, and that's with Kyrie and Luka again. Like those air balls that Derrick Jones was throwing up in the finals, like that. PJ Washington was getting all he wanted, and he was missing the finals. He had 1 or 2 couple great rounds, but not that one. I can see that. Just be a better Tim Hardaway Jr. And Klay is better than Tim Hardaway Jr. Still.
How is
him to hit some shots for Dallas?
From your guys up there right now, what's kind of the feeling right now? Was this kind of was there like a feeling of inevitability? Is there sadness? How are people up there reacting to this?
Yeah, I mean, they're not my guys, but I think the Warriors were, they thought they would be able to come back to Klay at some point and he would take more money from them. Like that, they would give him the 4 championship bump, probably would have paid him $20 million a year, 2 years, whatever. But I think the miscalculation, if there was one, and I think they're not upset that there was a miscalculation, was that he would come back to them. But he was just pissed off at them. And he was pissed off all season that Klay gets like that. Then he wasn't pissed off. Then he got pissed off again. Then he wasn't pissed off. He goes like that. And the unique thing is, like, Draymond's considered the hothead. Draymond's considered the unpredictable one, for correct reasons, right? There's stuff on the court that Draymond has done and stuff off the court that has certainly given him that reputation fairly. But when it comes to re-signing, it's like he comes back. Like he has had times when he's gone to the market, but he's always come back to the Warriors. He's wanted to be with Steph. He's wanted to be with this franchise. He understands the value in that. Klay is not that guy. It's just an interesting, unique feature about him is that he's so competitive, which was so good for them. He so takes things, I wouldn't say personally, but he does take things like to heart way more. That once this negotiation period, whatever it's started, maybe last year when they offered him the 2 years and $24 million a year. Again, there's some arguments over how firm that offer was, but it was something. Once they moved from that and they got into the season and he kind of lost the starting job, got it back, it was clear that Brandon Podziemski was ahead of him going into this next season. He is. Brandon Podziemski, I think that's one thing the Warriors fans don't quite understand. Podziemski's ahead of Klay. Whether you like it or not, that happened. So then Klay would have had to take a different role. So once all those things are shuffled in, I think Warriors executives are disappointed to lose Klay. They're disappointed it happened like this. But if they had gone back to the negotiating table and it was $20 million and some other team offered him $20 million and 1 cent, they weren't going to go higher than that, and Klay left, then it's the same result, right? That would have happened. Then they would have been fine with it. And again, not trying to be, callous about this, but I think they would have been okay with Klay leaving in that way. It just is stunning the way it happened, where it never happened. Well, they didn't make an offer to Klay because they're waiting for this Paul George stuff, and maybe now Lauri Markkanen, and they can't freeze up this money if they've got to make that move because you got to stay under the first apron if you're making that kind of move. All these complications, and just Klay ran into the middle of it, and he just said, "Get me out of it. I don't want to wait. I'm not waiting around." The value add of being with Steph Curry for all of my career isn't enough. I think the Warriors have been kind of understanding or counting. It didn't happen for Klay Thompson. It's just the reality. It sometimes happens where a certain player's mindset is a little different than the way it goes. And, then they signed DeAnthony Melton for the mid-level, the non-taxpayer mid-level, which now is available to them after letting Chris Paul go. Again, I don't want to be mean, but I think DeAnthony Melton, if he was on the team with Klay Thompson in that world, would get more minutes than Klay Thompson next season. I just think he's going to be more useful to them. Klay could win games by himself and did, even last season. But he's also going to do stuff that gets you hurt sometimes. If them particularly, Melton is a smaller player, but, more athletic, probably tougher on the ball, all those things. We'll see. And maybe Klay has a fantastic season. It would be wonderful to see. I would love to see Klay do that. But I don't know that the Warriors are going, okay, now we've lost the heart of this team. They lost the heart of the team emotionally, not the way they were playing the basketball. Kerr was already talking like Klay's going to have to accept another role. And Klay didn't want to. And he'll have a role with the Mavericks. Now, what's that role going to be with the Mavericks all the way through the playoffs? I don't know. Because that's a tough defensive setup if you're going Luka, Kyrie, Klay. Derek Jones Jr. really helped solidify them defensively. You just put them on the best opponent. Anthony Edwards, he's got him. Jamal Murray, he's got him. Jason Tatum, he's got him. Now, who's that guy for the Mavericks now? And they moved Josh Green in order to make the space for Klay. So I'm not sure. This gets back to maybe they're going to have to make some more moves around that. And is Klay finishing games? I mean, he's going to start games. Is he going to finish games? We'll see. We'll see how Klay deals. It's just probably easy for him to deal with all that. Not with the Warriors, not with the championships, not with the love of the fan base, the close attention to everything. That was part of it. I think it was the right call by Klay. If he was just resolved not to be part of this Warriors thing anymore. And he gets a fresh start, and the Warriors get a bit of a fresh start too. It might be terrible, but it's a bit of a fresh start. They are trying to make another big move, and some of this is based on them feeling like they can. We'll see if they do.
In terms of 20 years from now, 25 years from now, when you kind of like look back, and where does he kind of fit into the, great Bay Area sports figures?
Way, way, way up there. Now, it's always going to be Steph, right? Always Steph. Joe Montana, those two guys. You can put Willie Mays. Like that's Olympus, right? You can't get higher than that, and you can't join them on that unless you're one of them. But Klay is like in the Lincecum, Ronnie Lott, the emotional connection to fans guy. Not the greatest guy on the team, but just the most fascinating guy. Kind of the guy that the Bay Area people saw grow up. So that's losing a lot. Like it's losing a little of the innocence. Not that that happens. I'm a little more hard-hearted about it. Like this happens. Like guys don't usually spend their entire careers on one team. It just doesn't usually happen. Steph Curry is going to be that guy for the Warriors, and Klay. I thought he might, but there was a chance he wouldn't. But he's the guy that I think fans emote with. That they cried when he got hurt, understandably. Then when he got hurt again, it was a shock to the entire system. Really, one of the biggest shocks of the last, of the dynasty was when Klay tore his Achilles after tearing his ACL. That gave a jolt to this franchise of panic, of heartbreak, of what do we do now? More than almost anything. Durant, I always put off to the side because he's just like, it's that is like a dragon coming down and visiting with you and playing with you and then leaving. Like you really don't have a control of that one. The Klay one, the injury, that was the disruption of so many things. And then they win the title, 3 years later, right? Or whatever, very quickly after Klay got hurt, pretty quickly after Klay got hurt the second time. It's just a heart, part of the Bay Area heart more than anything. I mean, I don't know comparably to LA, but I'm not even sure who I could compare it to, the people in LA. And does LA have somebody like that? I'm trying to think now. Dodgers?
Probably somebody maybe like on one of those like Showtime teams,
Yeah, I mean, but he's like Michael Cooper or Worthy, I guess.
Yeah,
kind of
Worthy,
one of those guys.
yeah. I mean, Worthy's hung around on TV, right? So
yeah.
It's still a little more active, but
I think
maybe like Worthy.
Fernando, maybe.
Like Fernando is pretty. Yeah. I mean, I would argue right now, like people that are alive, like Fernando might be. I'm trying to think. I mean, Fernando's
is he the most popular living Dodger?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he might be the most. I mean, given the demographics of the city, and you look at like that. I mean, you go to the stadium now. Half that stadium's Latino, right?
Yep.
Those are the kids of Fernando's fans.
Oh, interesting.
Right. I've always said, right, the kids of Fernando's fans became Oscar fans. They became Dodger fans. So, yeah, no, Fernando's definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, then maybe Klay like Steve Garvey, Steve Garvey, that kind of like not the greatest player, but the guy that seemed to represent a lot of things. Yeah. Again, not Steph Steph it's not comparable to Steph. Nothing will be comparable to Steph. But Klay, as Steph's right hand, as the guy who didn't need all the attention and yet still could go for 41 in Game 6. I mean, I still say the 41-point game, Game 6, Oklahoma City is the most remarkable individual achievement during the dynasty. And that's a team that Steph Curry win unanimous MVP and win another one and had Kevin Durant. Like that on that era, Klay had like 2 or 3 of the greatest moments. He's like the rise of him. It's like that's why it's like Lincecum, where he had just had these high moments, and he had this charisma, and he had this just kind of accessibility to fans. And I think Klay was similar to that. And yeah, I don't know if the Lakers have a real. I mean, Kobe was just so great that it's almost hard. But he had that emotional connection on a different plane of kind of playing level. But it's a jolt. It's a jolt for everybody. I think it was coming. That's why last season was so bumpy. It wouldn't have been bumpy if he was a lesser figure. It was bumpy because he was Klay Thompson, because of all the stuff they went through, because of the injuries he went through. And I was writing like the 2022 title is a watershed moment for so many different things. It was because it was mostly unexpected, because it was after Kevin Durant left. It was after Klay's injuries, as Steph is headed towards his middle 30s, as these things like, okay, it's over. And they come back and they do it with their core guys again, Kevon Looney and Klay Thompson and, obviously Draymond, and just like they kept it together, and they had to keep it together after that. They had to, because of what they did. Like you had to give Jordan Poole a big contract, which they regretted. And, and Draymond obviously punched him, and that's a whole other thing. They had to keep Kevon Looney. They had to commit to Andrew Wiggins, who wouldn't have after that championship. But then that made it harder to pivot out when those guys fell off. It's logical. It happens to great teams. It just happened to the Warriors, and we're seeing it right now.
How I read your thing on the Paul George stuff, right? The Warriors flirtation with that. How hopeful do you think they were?
They thought they were going to get him. Again, that doesn't mean who knows on the Clippers side. Paul George didn't say, I only want to go to the Warriors. He could have said that. He didn't. He just indicated he wanted to come to the Warriors. This was a destination he would have liked, but he would have had to opt in to do it. And the Warriors and Clippers come to a trade, and the Warriors thought they had a lot of different ways that the Clippers would agree to. They thought they had the general outlines to do this. Different, a couple first round picks might have been in there, maybe just one. Kuminga or Wiggins or Chris Paul's contract was in there. Moody, like they just thought these things could get them Paul George if they just put them together in the right way. And they just never could get Lawrence Frank of the Clippers to agree to it. They had agreed. They had a permission to talk to Paul George and agreed to give him a 4-year extension off of the opt-in. So that's a 5-year, like $260 million commitment. They thought they had the things, and that the Clippers should take the things rather than let Paul George go for nothing. If they didn't take the things, Paul George was going to opt out, and he was going to sign for nothing. And I get and that's why I thought it was hard to begin with. It was just because the Clippers, to take all this stuff back, they would be giving the Warriors Paul George. I don't think they wanted that. And 2, they would be keeping themselves in the second apron, right? Because they're taking money back. In a trade, you had to take money back. And they didn't want to do that. So is nothing better than something? Yes. But also getting nothing and getting out of second apron, giving you more access to salary cap tools. I got it. If I'm just, on the face of it, Clippers probably should have taken something from the Warriors, but I get why they didn't want to do it. But I will tell you, the Warriors thought they were going to do this deal. They really thought they were going to get this deal done. I'm not sure it would have been the smartest deal for the Warriors, by the way, because you're giving up a lot, like whether it's Wiggins or Kuminga. It's a wing that you really kind of need, even if you get Paul George. Picks, there's issues with what they would have given up. I understand both sides, but $260 million to Paul George is a huge commitment. But they thought they were going to get this done. They did, and they were exasperated by it. So we'll see what they get next. If they can get Lauri Markkanen, I think they would feel very good about this offseason. I don't know that they can. Danny Ainge is not rumored to be an easy guy to deal with in trades. He drives a hard bargain. I think Markkanen is available. Let's just see if the Warriors can make that one. But they have set themselves up for fans being very disappointed. And I will tell you, Warriors fans are quite disappointed. But I don't think the Lakers fans are too thrilled right now. It's like who you push out there? Dalton Connect, Bronny James, a new deal for Max Christie, and ... I'm not quite sure what else we're gonna do here. But let's talk a little Giants Dodgers. We gotta talk that. They just had the series up here, 3-game series. Giants win 2 of 3. Easily could have won 3 of 3.
They could have swept.
They could have swept. They hit the ball great. It was warmer, so the ball was flying out at Oracle Park a little more than usual. But they hit the Dodgers pretty hard. They hit Glasnow, which is one of Dodgers' top guy. Maybe you've said the top guy. They hit him pretty hard. They hit some other guys. You watched those games. What are your impressions coming out of that series?
I mean, I think if you're the Dodgers, you're worried about the pitching now, right? And
which we've been talking about, all year, right?
Right. And Glasnow, I think his career high coming into this year was 120 innings, right? This is a guy who's had trouble staying healthy. I believe the 3 innings that he pitched against the Giants got him to like 103. So he's coming up now to his career high, right? And look, these things happen, right? These guys just don't have it. They get hit. It happens. That said, looking at that history, you are starting to wonder, okay, are the wheels kind of starting to fall off this thing? He does seem, for the most part, I mean, he pitched a good game against the Yankees, but you kind of look at the bad games he's had, they've tended to come against like some of the better teams. So you do kind of wonder too, like if he gets to October, can he be that guy? Paxton is another guy, right, who's kind of given them more than I think a lot of people expected. He got hit on Sunday. So again, I think you're kind of looking at this. To me, the division lead's just too big. They have too much offense. Like that again, that Saturday game. When the Giants hit Paxton, the Dodgers were just able to kind of come back and just kind of overwhelm them with their offense. So they're going to win enough games, I think, to win the division. But I think going into October again, your thing, the whole, do they have the frontline pitching, the quality pitching that they need? To me, that question is still a very, very a pressing one now.
I couldn't believe Shohei striking out as much as he did on Sunday. Spencer Bivens got him, and somebody got him at the end there, the final out. I know he's a great hitter. He's going to do great things. Were you surprised though that some of these kind of makeshift Giants pitchers were able to get him out in important times?
Yeah, I guess yes and no. I mean, right? It's a longer swing that he has. I mean, what he does is just like incredible, right? I mean, it's a longer swing, and he's barreling these things up. There's not much margin for error there, right? I mean,
and yet he's hitting 320, right? Still,
right? Yeah. No, I mean, even you talk to like Freddie Freeman, right? Who's one of these guys with a very short, compact swing. If anything, he'll go through periods where he doesn't hit for power because it's all about, okay, let me just make sure I make contact type things. I mean, he marvels at what Ohtani does from like a hitting standpoint, right? It's that to take like such a long swing, to be barreling up as many pitches that he does, because coming into this month, and even I think last month, sorry, we're in July now, right?
July. We're July. 2 days into July. Come on now.
Okay, so but even like going into like the first couple of weeks of June, Ohtani wasn't looking great, right? And then all of a sudden he just kind of catches fire, and now all of a sudden he can't miss anything. But so you know that he wasn't going to remain on 100 home run pace or whatever he was, forever. So yeah, these things kind of happen, But yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Dodgers, you're a little bit kind of worried just because like what it can mean long term. I don't know. Did this give the Giants any pep in their step, so to speak? You think?
Sure. Jeez, you take 2 or 3 over the Dodgers, and one of them is exciting at the end. And you feel like you should have won the one you lost. They're rallying around. Their pitchers are coming back. Now we'll see if Blake Snell ever really comes back. I have diminishing expectations about him since he's gone through this for so long. But Robbie Ray is somebody they really are looking forward to coming back, and he might be like 2 or 3 weeks away. And Alex Cobb might be 2 or 3 weeks away, right in the same, who knows with Cobb might be a little bit later. Like they're feeling like this has been a crisis month, right? June was a crisis. Like you had 2 healthy starting pitchers with Kyle Harrison also out. I'm not 100% sure when he's going to be back, but relatively soon. and you're just trying to spitball 3 of your 5 spots with relievers and bulk innings guys, not on purpose. They wanted to get out of this opener thing that they were in the last few years. They were trying to have real starters and they just didn't have them. And they feel like if they can just get the pitching ordered, we'll see. And then they burned out a lot of these relievers. I don't know. They might not have them in August and September because they've had to use them so much. But if they keep it together, get those starters back, and then they can go toe to toe with the Dodgers even before the pitching comes in. I think they're feeling good about that. Elio Ramos is a real deal hitter. They got some other guys who, if Chapman and Soler are actually hitting, and they are beginning to hit, it's a very different looking lineup. They do need lefty hitting. Lamont Wade's back in after being hurt, but he didn't play Sunday. Not sure he's all the way back. Conforto's okay as a lefty. Yastrzemski's okay, but Jung-Hoo Lee would have been a guy that they could have had there. He's out for the year. They've got some, things that haven't clicked into place yet. But I think where they're at after, they went down again. I think they were down to 6 games under and feeling like they could be out. And to turn around and get a couple wins, I think whoever they played before the Dodgers, and then go take 2 or 3 of the Dodgers with their pitching maybe lined up after the All-Star game or some of it. I think they feel pretty good. They always measure themselves against. I know that the president of baseball operations always measures himself in those Dodgers games. He's mentioned it in previous years. I think they feel, I thought all along that if they could just get into the playoffs, they feel good that they're going to be a tough out with their pitching. If their pitching comes up, you throw Logan Webb in game 1. We'll see who game 2 is. Maybe it's Alex Cobb, maybe it's Blake Snell, maybe it's Robbie Ray, and then one of those others for game 3. And then you see what you patch together for game 4. They feel pretty good about that against anybody, including the Dodgers. Whether they can hit in the playoffs or not, I don't know, but they feel like they can pitch, and that Bob Melvin will have that pitching staff as good as it can be in October. They just got to get to October. Series like this makes them feel like they can get to October. Well, they got a bunch of other teams in there, right? They're all in there with all those other teams. I always say they want to finish ahead of the Padres and the Diamondbacks. That's what they want. You finish ahead of them both, you're going to get in. Right now, they are, I think, a little bit ahead of the Diamondbacks. They're like 6 games behind the Padres. Whatever it is, like they got to track down the Padres. That's where they got to do. The Padres have been playing great. Giants have not. We'll see how that all works out. I think they're okay. They're not great, and then they're waiting for this pitching. And from what I saw, the Dodgers, they are. I think they might need 2 pitchers. They might need 2 starting pitchers because I don't know what you can count. Can you count on Buehler? Can you count on?
Yeah, I mean he's shut down right now.
Yeah, and Yamamoto, probably, but it's just.
Yeah.
I read a long New Yorker piece about your buddy Neil Atrache, and Walker Buehler is huge in that story, all over that story. And I'm thinking, no timing. You can't time this stuff out, right? But it's like the success of Buehler, the glory of Buehler coming back. That's his guy. He's done the second time, and I go, wait a minute, I don't remember Buehler pitching really recently. Again, not knocking the story. It's a great story. I don't know if you read it. I kept expecting you to show up in that story. It's your pal. But it was just funny interesting, I should say, that Walker Buehler is the star of that his relationship with El Trache is the star of that story, and he's back out. He's not pitching. Pitchers are tough. Again, they're not made to throw 98 miles per hour for 215 innings every year. They're just not. It's going to blow out. And El Trache has been a great guy in trying to sustain these guys as long as they can. So anything else, any El Trache notes for me, Dylan? I know he's your buddy.
It's El Trache, FYI.
Okay. Did I say El Trache? Okay. Would I say Trache? Yeah, El Trache. My bad. I shouldn't say. It's your guy, El Trache. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right? I mean, he got the guy back Buehler throwing 98. The problem is now the spin rate's down. It's straight, and it really kind of shows, I think, just kind of the degrees of, you get an average human being back to throwing 98 miles an hour. I would call it a medical miracle, right? Yes. But you need a little. That's not enough at the professional level, And now Kershaw, right? He looked like he was like a week or 2 from coming back. Didn't go great in the minor league. Last rehab start shut down afterwards again. So, again, like these, I think both Buehler and Kershaw, you were kind of looking at, okay, it'd be great if they can contribute and kind of be guys again. But when Yamamoto went down, all of a sudden now it's like, well, there's a little bit more urgency to get these guys back. And you kind of really can't count on anything, And so I think, this is going to be a problem now. And I think, it's interesting because I think too, the narrative kind of, I think, around this team is that, if Dave Roberts could be in trouble, right, job wise, if they don't win the World Series. But like, you look at this roster right now, can you really blame the manager if you don't have a rotation?
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
No.
Right. And I think in the last couple of years, again, the talk among the fans has started to shift a little bit from like, okay, everything's Roberts' fault to like, wait a second, how did this team get made? How did this team get constructed? And again, none of this is really a surprise. We were talking about this before the season even started, the fact that they got a bunch of guys with injury histories and just cobbled them together and just kind of hope that you'd have, a few of them standing at the end of the season. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting how this all kind of plays out. I think there's some urgency going into the trade deadline. But you know what? For the better or worse, the Dodgers seem to, Andrew Friedman seems to be pretty good from like insulating himself from all that noise. Doesn't move unless like he has a deal that's really kind of skewed in his favor. If it's kind of, you don't really see very many like even trades, I think, that the Dodgers do. Like, they're usually like completely swindling somebody, or they're not doing anything at all. So very well could be, again, with the expanded playoffs. I mean, I'm looking at the standings here right now. The Giants are just 3 games out, and you're right. There are a bunch of teams, within 5 games of that last wild card. So it's going to be, a lot of these teams, I'm guessing, if they feel they're close, could be buying, right? I mean, the Giants are in that position right now too, where it's been a while since they've done something. Getting to the playoffs can kind of change the trajectory of the franchise, at least in the short term. There are going to be a lot of buyers, and so I just kind of don't see the Dodgers really addressing that. It'll probably be ending the same way it has, the last few Octobers.
Yeah, and I still go back to, they've got a Gold Glove and superstar right fielder who then was shifted to second base, and then right before the season was shifted to shortstop. And it's like, that is wild for a team that has the budget that the Dodgers have and the resources they have. But and now Betts is hurt. But so when he comes back, is he the shortstop, Dylan, or what?
So it sounds like they're at least open to keeping Rojas there,
and then have Betts play second.
Yeah, have Betts go to second. Which, that kind of works because Lux hasn't really been that guy, So my guess is that that's probably, at least that's what Dave Roberts is going to want to do. Mm-hmm. We'll kind of see how, Betts himself is kind of feeling about it. My guess is it's going to kind of depend, on how he's feeling health-wise also. So, but yeah, my expectation is he'll probably be back at second, which is probably for the better.
It's just so wild that all happened. But hey, let's just put the right fielder at shortstop, and we're still a great team. It is wild, but that's your Dodgers, Dylan. That's who they are. Anything else? I think that's all I got. Happy 4th of July, everybody. We will not be doing another show until next week. We wouldn't anyway, but I just decided I won't be. That's what I'm saying. I won't be doing another show. TK show, 49ers plus minus, all those. We'll start back up next week, but North and South will be there too somewhere. I don't know, unless Dylan wanders off and signs with the Dallas Mavericks or something. I'm not sure what you're going to do. You want a fresh start, don't you? You want a new, whole new deal. You're tired of just living on the laurels of all the championships you won. You want to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're headstrong. You're headstrong.
Yeah. I mean, I would. Yeah. I mean, you're questioning this industry right now at this point, right?
Hey, that's a whole other topic. That's a whole other topic. I'm trying to create my own industry. That's the whole point of this. I'm trying to create my own industry and not rely on the others. But that's the very end of a long podcast that I hope executives are not listening to. But maybe if they want to, go ahead. All right, everybody. Show for today.